The Lake Observations by Citizen Scientists and Satellites project currently has more than 70 lakes as study lakes throughout the United States as well as internationally. We're looking to expand our network and looking for local partners and citizen scientists to team up to help us learn more about your lake. You will need a 1x8 or 2x8 board that's cut to 4 feet in length, a watermark style A stream gauge with 3/4 inch number 10 stainless steel screws, a bubble level to install on the gauge, stainless steel hex bolts, nuts and washers, 2-foot level, cordless drill bits and driver bits, ratchet, socket, and crescent wrench, the LOCSS sign. You'll need waders to get in the water, a 7-foot steel post, and you will need a sledgehammer or a post pounder. You can find one of two ways to install your gauge. You can install your gauge on a fixed pier like a dock, or you could install your gauge on a steel post that's driven into the lake bed. In this case, we were able to install it directly on a fixed pier. We used stainless steel deck screws and we drove those through the gauge board and into the pier. As we did that, we used a level to make sure the gauge itself was straight up and down. To install a gauge board on a post in the lake, use either a post pounder or a sledgehammer to drive the steel post into the lake bed. Ideally, you drive it at least 2 feet into the lake bed, but essentially what you want is to make sure that the water level reads a level that is typical for that time of year.
You leave the hex bolt on the bottom attached and swivel the gauge board down so that you can drive the post with your post pounder.
Then reattach the top of the steel post using a ratchet with socket and a crescent wrench. We also install a sign with simple instructions on how to send in a text message.
How's that?
It shows the unique 4-digit ID that we have for each lake, as well as the phone number that you would use to text your measurement in. We add a small bubble level to the gauge board and make sure that the bubble on that bubble level is centered. That way, if something happens to the gauge, they will be able to see that it's out of level and they can let us know so that we can fix it. After we install the gauge, what we do is figure out a way to reference that gauge to some fixed point. And we do this because, let's say the lake freezes over, it may knock the gauge board off, and when we go to reset it, we want to be able to understand where its new location is in relation to its old location. So there's a number of different ways that you can reference the gauge to some sort of fixed point. One was using a line level and a string. Another way was to use a laser level.
Yep, that's good.
And then the third way is just to measure to reference the gauge to some fixed point, say an eye bolt in a pier. Once you've installed your gauge and sign, simply follow the instructions on the sign to submit the first measurement for that lake. And then please send an email to lakelevel@unc.edu and include in that email the exact location of the gauge, as well as the method that you used for referencing your gauge to a fixed point nearby. If you'd like to be involved, we'd love to partner with you. We'll provide all of the supplies and materials and instructions. You simply install your gauge and begin submitting measurements on our website or through text message.